Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Poll Science. The slump in the voters' turnout continued even in the second phase of the Lok Sabha elections, in which 88 constituencies across 18 states of India went for polling. Now, the average turnout was nearly 64.7%, as against 69.4% in 2019. I spoke to both sides here politically, and both of them admit being not too sure entirely about whose voters are not turning up at the polling centres and why. Now, migration, vacation season, heat wave and the typically lengthy voting season seem to have contributed to this low voter turnout. To understand the impact of this on the final outcome, we have with us a data expert and political commentator, Amitabh Tiwari. Thank you, Mr. Tiwari, for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Tiwari, the drop in voter turnout from the 2019 elections has been drastic, averaging around 5 percentage points. Which are the states, in your view and research, where the drop has been very glaring?
See, if you see the Hindi heartland states, the drop has been alarming, like Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. Even in states which used to have a higher polling percentage, like West Bengal and Kerala, though the polling is higher than the overall average of 65% for phase 2, they have also seen a slump in voting turnout. So this could be due to a base effect, which was that the base was already higher in states like Northeast or Kerala, West Bengal, and there has been some slump. But in the Hindi heartland states, Rajasthan including, the turnout has been lower.
Right. Mr. Tiwari, talking about reasons, starting with the most important of all, heat cannot be really solely blamed for this because, if you look at the weather patterns, even in 2019, the same things, the same weather patterns continued. Also, UP, Western UP, Muzaffarnagar, all these places, there has been electoral dynamic difference here. Sapa and Baspa not together. There is RLD and BJP together. Do you think that, sort of made a difference?
No, see, temperature-wise, if you see, as you said, in Rajasthan in phase 1, the temperature was better than 2019 because there were rains. In Assam, the temperatures were better. But in some states like Bihar, the temperature was higher by 1 degrees to 5 degrees in certain seats. If we talk about political dynamics, there is also a political reasoning for different seats and states having a lower turnout, like you said for UP. Now in UP, normally or largely the Western UP has voted. So that's a Jat land. Now you have one party which claims to be the representative of Jat community, which has switched sides from the India bloc to the NDA bloc. So do all its voters switch from India bloc to NDA bloc? It seems that there is some amount of discontent among the traditional voters of RLD, and all of them are not switching to the NDA just because their leader Jayant Chaudhary has made a decision. Similarly, in states like Bihar, where in this phase 2, all the seats which went to polls were of JDU. JDU was contesting in these seats. So if the turnout is lower, it tends to indicate that the BJP voter is not wholeheartedly coming out in support of Nitish because of his constant flip-flops, which has dented his image.
What about Maharashtra, sir? How would you explain the low turnout?
Maharashtra was almost same as last time in phase 2 and a little bit lower in phase 1. There also, if you see, the voter is confused. Who is the real Sena? Who is the real NCP? All this hopping of leaders from one party to another. Even BJP has taken leaders which it has accused of corruption charges in the past. So if you see the normal voter, a section of the normal voter also is disillusioned. There is voter fatigue, voter apathy at going to vote for which party. Now many people, neutral voters, see political parties as same. There's not much difference between political parties for neutral, largely urban middle class voters. So this could also be the difference or the reason for a low voting in Maharashtra particularly, because there's a khichdi now in Maharashtra's politics.
Right. And explain to us about this base effect, sir, because in northeastern states, also in Bengal, 71%, in Kerala also 17% doesn't seem too bad for a developed or a politically conscious state like Bengal, but still it's worse. The voting percentage seems to have reduced as opposed to last time.
Yeah, so northeastern states mostly see a voter turnout of 80% and above because the number of voters there are very small, equal to the size of one Vidhan Sabha, perhaps of Delhi is the size of a Lok Sabha there. And what happens is that because of a high base effect, which means that when the turnout is already 80, 85, 90% in some seats, a drop could be natural because of the reasons which we have discussed. In West Bengal also the turnout always has been higher because there has been a severe competition between CPM and Congress and then the TMC in the past elections. This time also because there is a fierce competition between BJP and TMC. TMC to save its turf and BJP trying to make inroads in the east because they have largely maxed out in north and west. For that the drop in turnout is a bit surprising because there is very competitive politics there and voters come out in large numbers to celebrate the festival of democracy.
Right. Mr. Tiwari, conventionally a higher voter turnout has generally been a message about anti-incumbency in earlier polls before the BJP became the pole of Indian politics. So is there something that the opposition has to worry about here?
No, actually higher turnout is seen as a vote of anti-incumbency and lower turnout a pro-incumbency vote. But if you analyze elections from 1957 to 2016, 10 times turnout has increased and 6 times declined. Of the 10 times the turnout has increased, 6 times the incumbent government has won. Means 60% chance of an incumbent government actually coming back when the turnout increases. So it's opposite to what we generally tend to believe. However, it's a seat by seat and state by state, it is different, but we are talking about an overall level. When 6 times the turnout declined, only 2 times the incumbent has returned to power. So that's also contrary to what we believe.
Right.
See, as you said, you talk to both the camps, the BJP, the Congress or the NDA and the India bloc. It is very difficult to ascertain whose voter has not come out to vote. Only in some constituencies which are, let's say, you have clear indication of the population segment of that particular booth, you can tend to make out. But in rest of the booths, it is very difficult to make out.
Right.
So as you said, why are political parties not very enthusiastic or not very happy at this news? Why does everybody want a higher turnout? Because it gives a sense of feeling that our voters or our committed voters have turned out
right.
and vote.
Yes.
If it's a lower turnout, nobody knows who has not come out to vote.
Absolutely.
So that brings a question mark. So the opposition also, as you said, should not be very enthused because numbers do not give a clear picture. And what happens is that for the Congress party to win, it has to make a dent in BJP vote. So the first leg of the transaction is that the BJP voter, disillusioned, doesn't come out and vote and votes for the Congress. So the second leg is not happening because the margins are huge.
Right.
In Congress versus BJP seats, 20% plus. Unless the voter switches from BJP to Congress, that's not a very positive news for Congress also.
Right.
Because if they are disillusioned and do not vote, it also shows that they do not see confidence in the opposition, and that's why they are not hopping on from the incumbent party to the opposition bloc.
Right. So the third phase is Northern Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, where the fight is about margins, and also Mumbai votes on the 20th, Delhi votes on 25th. We already saw how bad the voter turnout in Bengaluru was. How do you see these how do you see these cities faring when it comes to voter turnout, and how important is voter turnout in the electoral outcomes of these constituencies?
See, Gujarat has largely been a bipolar state where BJP has been sweeping, and Gujarat is one of the states, at least in the Vidhan Sabha elections, where BJP has been winning despite a lower voter turnout for the past 2 elections. So a lower voter turnout actually has been helping the party there. This time we've seen candidates swapping, or rather from Congress side, one seat has already gone to BJP. So you could see a less or a lack of enthusiasm amongst the Congress voters, especially in Gujarat, because it's also linked to Gujarati Asmita and pride with the Prime Minister and the Home Minister belonging to the state. Now if you talk about Mumbai or Delhi, generally we see that in urban centers due to voter apathy also, because a lot of people do not believe in this political process, as they do not get a chance to participate in the political process, and the Election Commission also somehow has kept the dates as Friday and Monday for both of these elections. So I don't know how they have placed these dates, that they choose only Friday and Monday for dates of elections in urban centers, which gives a long weekend to people and a reason to go out.
Yes, and so very quickly, migrant workers, women and youth. These are three, section of voters that have actually attracted a lot of attention. Do we know anything about the voting patterns of these particular sections, specifically when the voter turnout has come down?
No, if you see, women voters for the first time in electoral history outnumbered the men in 2019. However, this data is not available still for phase 1 and phase 2 in detail. But if you see states like Madhya Pradesh, the women voter turnout has declined by 9%. But that has also happened for men also. But the reason could be there again is political, that you do not have Shivraj as the chief minister, and Shivraj used to be very popular among women voters. In youth, if you see, only 38% of the people eligible to get registered have been registered as first time voters. So that already shows a lack of enthusiasm amongst the youth because of the disconnect with the political discourse. And when you talk about migrant workers, the ECI had talked about a system of remote voting for them, which could have dealt with this problem, but with that system not in place, and in this scorching heat, a daily wager going back to the state and probably wasting 2 to 4 days of his time and earnings could not probably afford in this kind of a situation. So these things do impact the voter turnout as well.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Tiwari, for those insights. Factors such as urban voter apathy, voting sentiment, long election cycle, and many mysterious reasons seem to have contributed to the low voter turnout. But here's hoping that the third phase will break that trend. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back with another episode of Poll Science tomorrow.